Let's talk about Ketel Marte. And before we talk about Ketel Marte, I want to play you this from Mike Hayes, and again at the GM meetings in Vegas.
With some reports about Ketel Marte potentially being available, what have been your responses when you've been asked about Ketel's availability during the course of the week?
Yeah, look, we get asked about all of our best players. We have a lot of really good players on our team, and you know, we're the team the way we're constructed. You know, teams call us all the time and ask about those guys, and you know, a lot of times they're like, hey, I know you probably won't talk about it, but we want to express interest. So that's what's happened so far this offseason. It's happened every year since we've had him and all the other good players we have. And we'll see where the conversations go beyond that. But I'd say it's mostly unlikely for that stuff to happen.
For the sake of the exercise, what does mostly unlikely for that stuff to happen mean, Aram?
Mostly unlikely. I do think in this instance, because I don't think it's likely that he gets traded, right? But I do think that's a GM trying to slow the public rumors, but also make it clear that they're not totally closing the door on that. Because I think that's, given where they're at, I think it makes more sense to keep them. But this is different than the Skubal situation, right? Where I think it's malpractice not to listen. You know, you never know what someone's going to bring across your table. You don't know what, you know, the Mets could come knocking and, you know, offer some pitching, you know, talent that is hard to pass on with other pieces. Like you never know. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think he's getting the same amount of calls on Ketel Marte as Corbin Carroll. I don't think anyone's even bothering saying, is Corbin Carroll available? So that's the silly part about, oh, we got to get calls on all of our players. No, you're getting calls on the player that didn't come back, you know, and like missed a game after the All-Star break and, you know, has had some drama in there, and your 25-year-old rookie shortstop is now the leader of the clubhouse. Like, I think those are the components that make you, again, not eager to move. I don't think this is a Devers thing. It's just like, I mean, well, listen, this guy's not necessarily the glue to our team outside of the field, but on the field, he's an MVP candidate when he's healthy and he's going. And we've seen that. And that's why, unless he is legitimately ripping the clubhouse apart, which he isn't, I think he's, personally, my thought is he's probably just a little bit of a diva. You listen, you see what comes across, and ultimately, I don't think anything's going to meet the asking price there, but I imagine that it gets entertained more than all these other rumors that we're hearing from all these other top players.
I think it's a really interesting trade candidate because you'd assume the D-backs want to compete next year. I know they sold some pieces off at the deadline, but those were more expiring pieces, and you want to get some of those relievers back healthy. They still have a really strong lineup, and we'll see what they do in the pitching market. But I haven't seen anything to tell me the Diamondbacks are about to tear it down. So what that gets my mind going into my first idea is a major leaguer for a major leaguer trade. And what do the Diamondbacks kind of need? Now, of course, they need starting pitching, but I think they could use an outfielder. And what other team has a clog of outfielders and could be in the market for a second baseman? I was thinking Jarren Duran and for Ketel Marte, because it still keeps the Diamondbacks very competitive. Jarren Duran is a solid player. And I look at their outfield right now. Of course, Corbin Carroll's in right field. But right now it's Blaze Alexander and Alec Thomas. Could certainly use an outfielder with years of control like Jarren Duran, who is similar to Carroll in that way, where he's going to spray triples at Chase Field. I think he'd be a great fit in that park. And then the Red Sox, Craig Breslow came out and said at the GM meetings that they want a middle-of-the-order bat. And maybe if they don't view Duran like that, Ketel Marte certainly is and fills that need at second base. And then maybe the Red Sox, this might be too much, and this is why I kind of want to spitball it with you guys. Could a Peyton Tolle and Jarren Duran for a Ketel Marte trade get something done where Diamondbacks get a young, controllable pitcher? He's not their Connolly early, right, who's likely slated in. You don't really know where Tolle is going to end up, but maybe he gets in the hands of the Diamondbacks and they can do something with him. And then you get Jarren Duran, so you're not losing a lot on the offensive side, and you get a guy who would fit well in that ballpark. So I think a Duran and for Ketel Marte makes a lot of sense for both sides.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that makes so much sense for both sides that, like, the Red Sox and Diamondbacks both like get scared and don't do it kind of thing.
It's too fair.
You know, because Tolle, I think a lot of teams really like him because he's a guy that you look at and you say, you believe in your pitching development and you say, oh my gosh, give me that template. We're going to get more out of him. And the Red Sox are saying, well, we have the template. We're already getting more out of him and we know we're going to get even more out of him. So we don't want to trade him. And so I think it creates this really interesting conversation, but you get an opportunity here to acquire, one of the best players in the sport. I think at his position, obviously the best player in his position. Yep. And you're in a really exciting spot. Is there a reluctance, like sunk cost fallacy with hey, we need to give Christian Campbell these reps and we got to give Marcelo Meyer? The goal is to win the World Series, and you may not bring back Bregman, and it makes more sense. That's a better player. I love Bregman, but Marte in that stadium, holy crap! Yeah. So that side of it makes it really fascinating. I feel like it makes all the sense in the world, but I think the Red Sox are just too apprehensive to do it, though they should, with the way that early, was able to emerge. And I think when you're the Diamondbacks, it's to your point, Peter, I don't think they want to tear it down.
Yeah.
I think for them, that would actually allow them to spend a little bit more money elsewhere. They're pretty pushed up against it. Like I give them credit. Like they're a mid-market team that has spent on the upper echelon of the mid-market and has made themselves big players. Thanks to Ken Kendrick kind of jumping in here. Sometimes it wasn't a great move, and Jordan Montgomery, and they've had to pay the price for that, literally. And Corbin Burns, you can't blame them. I think they're still going to get value on that on the backside, but they're a little bit tied up financially right now. If you made that trade, you'd be upgrading the outfield, or at least jolting the outfield a little bit. You'd have one of the best young pitchers in your entire organization then in there and can help you right away and be in the, I think in the big league equation. And then you could use some of that savings to maybe go get an Okamoto, maybe, bring back Gino, maybe do some other different things. Cause even though it's a good contract, it's still money. So it would allow them to do some things. That's where I think you have to hear it out, because it's not just the return that you get for him. It's also the financial flexibility that you would get in trading a Marte, where you can do some interesting things here. So that's why I think they're going to hear it out. And you have a team like the Red Sox, who I think you lay out a perfect trade partner. I also look at the Reds. If this Hunter Green stuff is real, again, big leaguer for big leaguer stuff is rare. If Marte gets traded, it's going to be for big league talent. What about a Hunter Green and like a bounce back Matt McClain? It sounds weird, but maybe it works. And even then, I think they're still in the green, no pun intended, with the finances based on, I think, what Green would be owed and what Marte would be owed.
I don't want to spoil too much, because we do have a whole article coming out on this on justbaseball.com, and we have a whole bunch of mocks built out. Hunter Green is involved in one of those mocks. There is a Red Sox outfielder involved in one of those mocks, and it isn't Jarren Duran, although I like the idea of Duran, because Duran and Corbin Carroll in the same outfield would set triples records that will never, ever, ever be touched. Corbin Carroll, I think his first 3 full seasons, has led the league in triples. Jarren Duran has led the AL in triples, I think 2 out of the last 3 years. So those two, in that ballpark, it would be utterly insane. But the question that I would want to ask Mike Hazen is, who do you prefer? At a steeper price point and 3 years of arbitration, Jarren Duran, or 4 years, one of which being pre-arb, of Wilyer Abreu? And I think a lot of people would sit here and say, well, Duran's the better player. Yes, but Abreu's cheaper. Abreu is a perennial Gold Glove favorite in a corner outfield spot in a very large outfield, and he can hammer right-handed pitching. Obviously, there's going to be more platoon issues in a Jarren Duran, but I don't know. Like, I could see them, if they want to reposition financially, them maybe being more intrigued by a Wilyer Abreu than a Jarren Duran. But the Red Sox outfield thing makes perfect sense, and the Hunter Green thing makes perfect sense.
So to Jack, to your point on Wilyer Abreu, there's a part of me that agrees with you that he would be more valuable. If I'm the Diamondbacks, wouldn't you just rather take the left fielder instead of the right fielder in Wilyer Abreu, when Corbin Carroll already owns that position? And you're probably not going to get another prospect attached onto that. So
Carroll
if I'm them,
my clapback is
the prospect.
My clapback is Carroll is an average right field defender and Duran is a good left field defender.
Yeah. And
Carroll would move. Yeah.
Carroll could play center too.
Abreu might be the best right fielder in the game. That's
Tatis.
my clapback.
Tatis,
but Abreu is right there.
Yeah. No, I know that he is a good defender too. I would personally rather get Duran and a prospect, considering Wilyer Abreu has not proven that he can hit lefties and does play the same position as Corbin Carroll, even though they can move. I agree with you, but I feel like the reason, like if you move Wilyer Abreu to left field, is he as elite of a defender in a different corner? Maybe he is, but again, you're trying it versus just plugging in the left fielder who's already a good fit for the ballpark and is likely a little less valuable according to the Red Sox.
And I won't push back on that one bit. The other team that factors in here entirely is the New York Mets. And the New York Mets have, in Aram Layton's brand new updated top 100 prospect list, 8 top 100 prospects, from Nolan McLean to AJ Ewing. They
Almost
to
9, too.
Reimer, actually.
Almost 9 too. Wenninger was close.
Really?
He was a consideration.
Wow.
He has one of the best changeup splitters in the minor leagues, and he was insane to finish the year. So you have Wenninger as well. Jack Wenninger has been awesome. This is a nasty system with a lot of players that I think would fit the bill of what the Diamondbacks would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the question, remember we were just talking about how the Diamondbacks are likely looking for big league talent. I feel like there's another second baseman on this list who's a better fit for the Mets, considering they'll probably want prospect capital. That was at least my idea for the Mets in their second base position, if we all agree that the Diamondbacks are likely looking for MLB talent over prospects.
Well, at least like some of the prospects that they'd be getting would be pretty close to big league ready, right? So you'd be getting like, Jonah Tong was rushed, but he was rushed because he was close. So that's a guy that you could maybe get up there a little bit quicker.
Like Sproat's a starter for you.
Sproat, you're going to have to add a lot more, but Sproat is a good starting point. You know,
Ryan Clifford's a AAA bat that could probably get up a month into the season.
And they need a first baseman, and they need a left-handed hitting first baseman. I know they would love to add, at that position as well. And he can also play a little bit of left. Or right. I would prefer him in right. It's interesting. I agree. There's probably teams that have a little bit more like big league pieces that they could move from. But it is a team that I think with the pitching depth that they have, they could put together a package that would make it really difficult to say no. I think if you're the Diamondbacks.
Another team that has young major league talent and has a good farm system, and I think has a need at second base, is the team we were just talking about, the Detroit Tigers. Right? Let's really go for it. It's not like Ketel Marte is that expensive. Right now, their projected slotted second baseman is Zach McKinstry. Now, got to respect all-star Zach McKinstry.
All-star utility piece.
Silver Slugger, Zach McKinstry.
Silver Slugger, Zach McKinstry. So clearly he's a huge player. So maybe I'm wrong wanting to go get Ketel Marte, but I just love the fit. Because I think if you're looking at the Tigers right now, you got Riley Green, you got Spencer Torkelson, you got Kerry Carpenter, but to put a potential top 10 hitter in the middle of that, the Tigers go from a good offense that can run cold to just consistently one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball. And they have plenty of pieces to do it. Like, who knows what the Diamondbacks think about a guy like Cole Keith if they want some Major League talent. Or I can throw it over to you, Aram, for some nearly ready big league pieces that the Tigers probably have in waiting.
Yeah, I mean, McGonigal, untouchable. Clark, you probably don't want to move, but I think you start
in a trade for Marte though.
The only guy I'm not trading in a trade for Marte is McGonigal.
Yeah,
but I think it becomes a really fascinating conversation where it's okay. We have these two guys though that I think can fit our needs and help us pretty soon. Can we put something together without them? They're going to say no, and you kind of get this stalemate. But I agree, like from the big league pieces, like Colt Keith had a really good second half. He's clearly a bulk platoon guy that can, I think be a productive bat at the big league level. Stick him at first, right? Or just move him around a little bit. Then you add in like a Josue Briseño who can catch and play first and absolutely mash. You add in several different guys that I think could be extremely fascinating and make a really competitive package. It doesn't fit the bill of what the Tigers like to do, but it would be a really exciting acquisition. And it's probably one of the only opportunities for the Tigers to acquire a star, because they're never going to pay one. So I think even more so if they know that they're not going to pay Skubal, it's even more reason to do it now. Take a run with Skubal on the team, and it can save you a little bit of the optics nightmare when you do inevitably, potentially lose Tarek Skubal to free agency and say, well, hey, we got 150 plus million allocated to Ketel Marte. Like we made the move that we knew we could make to get a player that we knew would stay with us. It was in our control. But I do think they could put it together. They could put together a package, but I can't imagine the Tigers being willing to give up McGonigal or Max Clark. But again, Ketel Marte could change things.
Yeah,
The
that's
other
why
way
it's
they
such a special player. Could that be the one where they finally are like, all right, here are my cards? Like, we'll very rarely do this, but with a guy with his pedigree, with years of control that is cheap, okay.
Yeah.
One more team? Or Jack, I don't want to, I know you're
No,
upset.
I mean, I was just going to put a little piece together on the Tigers here, because the other thing that they have shown that they're willing to do is pay pitching across 2, 3, 4 years. Like, they paid Kenta Maeda, and it wasn't an insane sum, but they paid Kenta Maeda. They paid Jack Flaherty on a 2-year deal. They brought Flaherty back. They're willing to do that. With the number of tier 2 starting pitchers that are available in free agency right now, why couldn't an early trade involving somebody like Reese Olson kind of force Detroit's hand, and then all of a sudden they backfill Reese Olson? What's the difference between Reese Olson and a 3-year deal for Gallen? Is Gallen going to get more than a 3-year deal at this point? Like, is he 5 for 120? I don't think he is. Even if he is, the Tigers could probably give Gallen 5 for 120. There are enough arms that can survive in Detroit that are, I think, on the same level as Reese Olson that are on the free agent market right now.
100% agree with you.
Yeah. That's why I'm so fascinated by what the Tigers are just going to do in general. I think
Yeah, me too.
based on their philosophy, this is going to tell us a lot about, and I think we already know a lot about Scott Harris, but I think this is really going to tell us a lot about Scott Harris and like his approach for the next several years. Cause this is a really interesting flex point for them, where it's your last year with one of the best pitchers in baseball, guaranteed to be with you. And again, you're hoping you bring him back, but this is the last one that you got him. You've been very close back-to-back years. And like, what's that last thing to push you across the finish line? Do you think that it's worth mortgaging the future a little bit to try to push yourself across the finish line? Or is it all about the sustainable winning, even at this moment here where this might be the best shot you have for a little bit? That's where I'm very interested to see. And, a little bit of extra urgency would be nice, and see a little bit of aggression. I don't think you're fully undermining the model and fully undermining sustainable winning by taking your shots here and there when you have the farm system that you have and the situation that you have.
You don't know the model like that. Peter, what's your final thought?
I have one more team, but I do want to get to so many more players. But I did write down the Seattle Mariners, and I thought about a Cole Young for Ketel Marte swap, just because there's that relationship there, and the Mariners feel like they're in a very big win now moment. Of course, they're building sustainable success. It's just not often that you have 5 pitchers in their late 20s, early 30s that are all ready to go win a World Series, plus Julio Rodriguez, plus Cal Raleigh. And if you lose a Josh Naylor and fans are destroyed because of that, maybe you get price out of that market. You get to be in a market that's a little bit cheaper, and you get a lot more bang for your buck. It would suck to lose a player like Cole Young, who could potentially be, your second baseman for the foreseeable future. But there is that relationship there. So I wrote them last on my Google Doc as like a maybe. Like, I could see it.
You need more than Cole Young. The question is, how much more than Cole Young do you need?
Yeah.
A lot. And I love Cole Young, but
really?
I
It's
think they're a good trade partner, though, because you get, Cole Young's a good starting point, and then think about the pitching. Can they kind of whisk away one of the big league arms? Could you maybe grab a Bryce Miller? And then you have Bryce Miller and Cole Young. Those are 2 guys that help you tomorrow, right? So again, you're not. Sorry,
I said that trade is sick. I didn't
It
mean
would
to
be
interrupt.
amazing.
Like, I told you, I say whatever comes to my mind. Like, that just shot out of my mouth. Like, that
right.
trade is sick.
I'm glad it's usually like nice things.
It is.
That like those 2 and like a prospect, like another prospect in the fold, like it becomes difficult to say no to. And I mean, dude, if you're the Mariners, that's another one where it's like they've already tipped their hand. They told us outright it's all about the 55%, 54%. I wonder if the way though this past year went, it's like, you know what? Fuck the percentage, man. We were so freaking close. Look at the Blue Jays, dude. They were so close against this dynasty team. Push the chips forward. You got a lot of talent. You don't even have to trade Colt Emerson, who's your future at that position. Like, he's the future at shortstop. But even in the meantime, you could slide him over to third, second base, whatever you wanted to do. I think you could do Bryce Miller, not feel it. You have Cade Anderson's probably going to pitch like twice in the minor leagues before he gets up. You have Durangelo St. Who I think is going to take a huge leap next year. You've got all
even
these other
Hancock, Emerson Hancock. The question is, how much do they value Emerson Hancock? That's the big one for
Hancock,
me.
the reliever. We got some people in the Discord, Pint Size Analyze, right? Always sure to remind us that Hancock, the reliever, is different.
He was different, to be fair.
Yeah, but like, can he make 5 spot starts while you wait for Cade Anderson? If the answer is yes, then like, go ahead and do the
Logan Evans. Someone could plug in the meantime.
Absolutely. So cool. Are we going to get to the rest of the candidates?
Let's do it.
Whoosh.